Welcome to Love of the Game. I'm your host SJ, and for our NBL1 East show, got a special guest, Daniel Kim, a coach headed for great things in the game. Thanks for joining us today, Daniel.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Now, as always, kick back, relax, and enjoy the show.
I got you. I got you. Say less.
Then you come outside, now inside, Christian. That's why they give you hundreds of times. Now you know you spit. You got the whole run vibing the same. You ain't doing it to rock and change. You got love for the game.
Now, Daniel, we're going to talk about your love of the game for basketball. How did it start, and how did that kind of progress to coaching?
Good question. So it actually started with my father. He actually bought me a small kids basketball ring, one of those outdoor hoops. You can kind of adjust them, to be able to dunk, touch the rim, and or you can adjust them to be 10 foot tall. And that's essentially where it started. And just playing in the front yard, in the backyard, and I'd watched some games of Kobe, Michael Jordan, because my cousin was a big basketball fan at the time, and he loved playing basketball. That was his outlet. So, me watching the games with him, kind of gave me that inspiration.
Nah, beautiful. And you played basketball. I saw UBL ball for the Norwest Giants. What
Yeah.
was your position, and what was your game like?
Oh man, I was just a hustle guy. Like no, nothing special on my end. I was probably more of like a coach, if anything. Trying to direct and bark instructions. Be a great teammate. Again, just hustle guy. Make the occasional maybe open three every once in a while. But to be honest, I was mostly a glue guy. When I was playing, and that was actually that was actually a fun season because that was done. I played with about three close mates. One of them's actually, I was actually his best, I believe it was his groomsmen. I was one of his groomsmen at his wedding. So, tight friendships were formed, and, we still, keep them to this day.
And every team needs a glue guy. And I think that's what I want to talk to you about, because you started
Mm,
coaching really, really young.
yeah,
Most people don't start until probably like late 20s, maybe early 30s. But
right.
you kind of went, you know what, I'm going to focus on this from a young age.
Mm.
What was that decision like, and how'd you get your first break?
So I actually started coaching when I was 19, just out of like just pure hobby. It was just a pure hobby for me. I just had the love, to just, give back something that I'd learned, throughout my time, from other coaches and influence, other people's lives in a positive way. And, I got a lot of fulfillment out of that. So I've coached every level you could imagine, from the seven G's to the
Yeah,
8Ds, to every level you could possibly imagine, boys, girls, high schools, you could think about. But, I got a lot of satisfaction out of that. And then at some stage, I tried playing at the Waratah level, but that just didn't work out for me. Wasn't good enough. And Demarcus Berry, who's actually the head coach of the Turkish Gumbaros, he was the director of the program at St. George. He pulled me aside and said, "You know what? I think you could be a great coach." He'd heard me talking to a few of the players, and I think one time in the locker room. We just lost to Liverpool when they had a team. And, I think, there was a lot of back and forth as far as, oh, why we lost the game, where's it all going wrong? And I just interjected and found my moment organically, and was able to really provide perspective for both parties. And, I suppose to give kind of a neutral, I suppose, perspective of the game. And then from there, that's when everyone was like, oh, you should really be a coach. So I was
yeah.
25 was when I really decided to take it on board, because DeMarcus had really instilled that belief in me and that motivation to really take it, onwards and upwards.
And you make a great point, because now he's still the head coach, and you're assistant coach at that Japanese club.
Yeah.
But before we do that, you kind of went through the journey. You had opportunities at Sydney Kings, Illawarra Hawks, at Adelaide 36ers. What was that experience like, and how did you get that break?
So Illawarra Hawks, it starts from there actually. So one time I was just emailing a whole bunch of different teams. and the Illawarra Hawks got back to me, and it was actually Rob Beveridge. He was the head coach, so he'd actually reached back out to me and said, "Hey, you're more than welcome to come to practice. Check it out. Feel free anytime." And Wollongong's about an hour and a half for me, so I was like, you know what? This is an opportunity for me to go and see what a professional team is like and how they operate. So made the trip down, and then from there, I was able to develop some great relationships. Was able to establish some kind of position as well, where I could help with the scout, the film, provide some in-game stats along the way, quarter by quarter notes as well. So and a lot of that was built through respect, work ethic, and trust. And that's what the coaching industry is about. Who can you trust? Who can you depend on? Like who's willing to show up?
Yeah.
When it matters, and when everyone's tired, and it's been a long season. So I was able to thankfully develop a lot of great rapport and respect. So I was there for about 2 seasons, and then the Sydney Kings, opportunity came by when Will Weaver had just taken the jump from the NBA G League to the NBL. And at the time, I was actually looking at a potential opportunity with the G League team at the Lakeland Magic, but the opportunity fell through at the final stage, and I got an opportunity to essentially be an intern at the Kings, where I could get my hands on a bit of everything, whether it was some video, whether a bit of scouting or some side projects for Will Weaver, or for one of the other coaches. A lot of rebounding, cleaning up, whatever it was that was asked of me. I just decided to go with it because I took it as an opportunity to learn and see what an NBA workflow was about, and how that how an NBA coach would operate on a day-to-day basis. And he was a great teacher, so I was able to learn a lot from him. And then as far as the Adelaide 36ers, Cal Bruden, the OG, shout out to him. I'd reached out to him and sent him a project I'd done on the NBL. So essentially, I'd broken down every team, kind of given a run through of a player analysis of through on their personnel, on the personnel depth chart, gone through kind of a summarized version of what they do offensively, defensively, who all the top prospects are coming up as far as local talent, and he'd sent that through to his son CJ, who was the head coach at the time, and then from there we were able to connect, and he gave me that opportunity to come on board and help with the scouting, the video, take the workload off the coaches. So long story short, like I've been blessed to have had people give me opportunities to learn and grow along the way and show me how it's done.
And that's why when I was mentioning, I said, how were you getting your break? Because when you get breaks in life, you kind of earn it. You're going to have to put in the work. As you said, you were the hustle guy and you always put in that extra effort. And at the start of the show, I said, expected big things. And that's the reason why, because you put in that detail to kind of maximize your opportunity. And in this business, it's kind of like if you can find someone that just believes in you, because every time I heard you talk, it's someone gives me that belief. Someone believes in me that they don't like, I don't know what they see. And it comes down to that hard work that you do put in. And it comes down, look, I'm going to talk about some of the players that you've kind of helped develop along the way. But I'm going to start off with your opportunity at the Inner West Bulls, head
Mm.
coach for the 2 years. And I just want to know what that experience was like and kind of getting, I guess, your hands on actually being able to coach in Australian basketball.
Yeah, and shout out to Danny Quadahi, Michelle McDowell, and Seamus. They gave me that opportunity, and like you said, it's to get a big break. You need someone to see something in you and believe in you. So I'm very blessed. Like without people actually seeing that in me, seeing whatever it is that they see, like I wouldn't have had those opportunities. So I'm very blessed in that sense. But yeah, Inner West. Man, that was a great 2 years for me because I took the jump from coaching under 23s youth league to NBL1, and I felt I was ready, and I was excited, and it was kind of we'd just gotten past that second COVID period, I
Mm.
believe, the second lockdown. So, and Inner West was still quite, they were still raw as a program from the senior men's side of things because they brought in a lot of different players when they just first brought in when they put in a team in the Waratah League. So for me, it was like, okay, I got to try and recruit players, that fit the type of offense and defense that I like to teach and basically work from there. And, I brought in Alex, through the help of, a guy called Billy, coach called Billy Sarath, who was coaching UTS at the time. I had, I was, I'd had a relationship with Chol at the time. Isaac Signal, Chan Maker, like, Johnny Synagorix, like, I was able to thankfully put together a strong team as far as talent and, length and athleticism, which is what, I'd kind of built the team on. And, year one was kind of like, a real opportunity to kind of build something, build a culture. And I'd kind of, I told the board of the organization that, if we're going to come in, like, it's not going to just be championship first year and that's that.
Yeah.
Like, obviously it'd be great to win, make playoffs, do all those things. And that still was the goal because, we felt it was possible. But it was really about, can we establish a culture and then can we build around a certain core? Because all the teams that had done it before, especially at that what they called it the ABA back then, which is NBL1 now, all the teams that had won and been successful were teams that had stayed together for a number of years and had continuity. So year one was about trying to build something, build a
Mhm.
group that cared about, what we were trying to build as a program, the organization, buy into the player development, everything that, we wanted the program to be about. And then year two was basically, all right, we're trying to have a real go at this. We're bringing back a core group of guys that we want, and then we want to build around that by bringing in two imports. We brought in, Chris Bryant. We brought in Blake Morrow, who both had successful seasons, and then we were able to, add some veterans and veteran pieces, around the team to essentially help build, further build that culture, right? So. Now, Inner West was, Inner West was a great experience for me because it taught me how to be a head coach. It taught me how to run my own team, and I'm forever grateful to them for giving me that chance.
And I'm glad you kind of talked in depth about the Inner West Bulls because look, you're back here in Australia now, and you've been kind of following the game still and following the team. I see
Yeah.
you at a few of the games still. In a way, just kind of seeing your work in fruition because I know the DNA of that team comes back from you, if that makes sense. Um, and I want to talk about one player in particular, Alex Higgins Tischer. Just
Mm.
got signed by the Cairns Taipans in the NBL as a development player. What's his game like, and what can we expect from him in the next level, the NBL level?
Mm. No, great question. Look, as far as Alex, like, when I first met him, man, like, he was so cruisy. Like, it looked like, he didn't really know what he wanted out of basketball. Like, he didn't look like he took it too seriously. Like, he didn't know what gears he could possibly reach. And
Mhm.
you know, for me, it was like, okay, like let me see if I can, get more out of him. Like, the potential I see in him is NBL professional. I can see it, but he's got to want it. And thankfully, we were able to develop a good relationship, especially in more, I would say more the second half of our first season, where, I gave him more opportunities to play his game, be it more of a primary, I would say, scorer for the team and a bigger piece amongst, what we were trying to build and do. And, for me, I think his game is built all on his athleticism at this current stage. The things he can do, you
Mhm.
can't teach. Like, you
Yeah.
can't teach the anticipation. You can't teach, the instincts, to just come out of nowhere and just block a shot, pin the ball on the backboard. Like, just be able to just jump out of nowhere, grab a lob, put back
Mhm.
dunk. There's a lot of, the length, to get deflections, steals. Like, there's a lot of stuff, that you just can't teach as a coach. There's no, so he's got certain like special elements about him. But for him to take that next step, and I actually talked to him about it. I talked about that with him today. He's got to hit that next gear. Like, there's another gear for him to reach where it's about consistently showing up and being dominant in all facets of the game that, where he's, for what he's known to be, to be great at. So
Mhm.
motor, effort, being a presence defensively, being a rim protector, being an absolute demon in transition, putting pressure on the rim. And I would say the two facets of his game that need to evolve, probably I'd say three to get to, to really solidify himself as an NBL player is he's got to be able to knock down the three ball on a consistent basis. He's got to be able to stay in front of the basketball defensively, because he does rely a
Mm.
lot on his athleticism and length, but knowing how to use that to his advantage and being smarter, especially at that level, is going to be important. And then I would just say being able to handle the ball a little bit better as well. So especially when he, rips through, on rip throughs, trying to get to the rim, trying to, create space, draw contact and then play off 2 feet. So there are those I would say be like the skills that he's got to develop. And really from there, it's all about this at this stage, the mental side too.
Mm. Yeah, man, because I was watching like a few of the Inner West Bulls. They were the first games I kind of started watching live
Mm.
and things like that, and just seeing his presence on the court, seeing his length, and as you mentioned, man, like when he runs down that court, just goes front foot, first step, he's running fast break, he's near unstoppable to be honest. When he starts driving it in,
Yeah.
and the putback dunks, he's kind of, I guess, instincts for the game, as you mentioned. And for me, looking at it from like an outsider and for a guy that's kind of, it's more rugby league based, that I've kind of grew up with, it's just like,
Yeah,
man, if this
yeah,
guy, if this guy just plays angry, if he plays angry and just goes keep his
yeah.
head down, like it's over.
100%.
Yeah, so fingers crossed because look, he's young, man. He's 23. He's got a big career ahead of him, and I actually had him on the show. Probably my
Yeah.
third guest, man. It was a pleasure talking to him, and just yeah, hearing him talk. There's big things there, and it was amazing when I saw Ken's Taipans, and I was like, man, he deserves it, and he's got like, and that's what I'm saying. The plays that you develop. I know you. I didn't know that you actually talked to him today, also, but staying in contact with them and kind of following up. How important is that to you?
It's very important because, I'd like to think I'm a man of my word. And, when I first brought Alex in, even players like Nico Timonera, for example, I gave him my word that regardless of whether I was in Australia or in another part of the world, I would still track and see how that, how they're playing and, are they on the right track, to essentially achieving their goals. And, for me, it's if you make that commitment to me, I'm gonna make that commitment back to you. Like, I'm gonna reciprocate that energy back.
Mm.
And, there's a lot of other guys as well, that currently play at Norths, Hornsby. Like, there's so many players that, I still keep in contact with because I gave them my word. I told them that, hey, no matter where I am, I'm always going to check in. If you need anything, you can hit me anytime, whether you're struggling, whether you're doing well, whatever it is, I'm always a phone call or a message away. So,
Mm.
I'd like to think I'm a man of my word in that sense. And, it's important because, players players go through so much, in their journeys as far as, the mental battle,
Yeah.
because, the reality is that you could be working hard every day. You could be, getting up hundreds and hundreds of shots every day. You could be putting everything into it, but then, you still might not get the result that you want. You
Mm.
still might not have the game that you want. You might not make the team that you want. You know, you might not see the money that you want, after all that hard work and persistence. So again, I think it's always important everyone has, I suppose that one person, two-person, or like, a close circle of,
Mm.
trusted people that they can go back to and, make sure that they mentally stay on the straight and
Mm.
narrow.
I actually have two follow-up questions to your
Mm.
kind of just what you just said just then. I'm going to start off with the import signings. How essential is it to get the quality import to bring to your club, if that makes sense? Because you kind of talked about the struggle and the mental battle it is. And I'm just
Yep.
going to talk about Chris Bryant, for example,
Yep.
a guy that you brought into the league at the Inner West Bulls 2 years ago. And just talking to him, man, it's tough on all these imports to actually come down, come to a new country, leave their families behind. Because I know he talks about his daughter a lot and things like that. And how much, what I'm trying to say is how important is it to get a quality import to have the young guys kind of follow?
It's a good question. I would say it's about finding the right fit. Like you got to find the right fit. Obviously, from a basketball standpoint, sometimes it can be hit and miss, but you got to find the right fit. And my philosophy is that, especially for the NBL1 level, you got to get an import that's hungry, like that's hungry, to essentially begin their professional career, or that's hungry, to essentially go into a different market, especially to prove themselves. Like, because the NBL1, like if you can do well at NBL1, a lot of those numbers do translate at higher levels, around Europe and even in Asia. Um, but I guess, to really answer your question, it's essential to find the right fit, but it's important to find someone that's hungry for the opportunity.
Mm.
Because if they're not hungry and they're just there, for just to get their numbers, and they don't want to buy into the fact that, winning that winning is actually important, and that it's important to be able to, develop a great rapport, and relationship with not just your teammates,
Mm.
who are going to get jobs, next year, by the way, and they're here to stay. They don't have to work as hard as the imports to, get opportunities, but also the people in the organization. Because if ever, if they love you, guess what? They're going to do everything they can to want to bring you back.
Mm.
So I think fit as far as character, as far as, somebody that's hungry, to want to take that step, to want to like get better, build, grow, and really use the NBL1 as like almost a catapult. I think that's important.
Yeah, because I mentioned Chris Bryant. I know because I saw your interview last year with East Got Game, and you kind of talked about the importance of building the club from the junior ranks, getting the youths
Yeah.
involved to kind of have them look up to these players. I went to a few Hill Hornets games, and a few of the kids were like, "Man, I just want to see Chris Bryant and Ish Sanders." They
Mm.
kind of have that effect on the rest of the and man, you see them interact with them and things like that. So my question to you is, what makes Chris Bryant unique in his approach to the game? And do you have any good Chris Bryant stories?
CB. First of all, shout out to CB. Got a lot of love for him. I with CB, like he's always got so much energy. And I remember, when he first got here, he was like, "Oh, coach, I really just, I want to work out. I just want to get straight to it." And that eagerness, I just wanted to feed into it. But I knew, he was battling with so much. He's just come into a new country. He barely had gotten settled. So I put him through a strenuous, I think, 1.5 hour workout at Olympic Park. And then that very night we had practice as well. So that he's coming in, backing it up off a hard 1.5 hour workout. And that's what he asked for. To then, a 2 hour training session where we're getting after it. We're picking up full court. I'm demanding excellence from these guys, especially in the preseason. And you could just tell, like, he was gassed. Like, he was like, oh man, like, this is crazy. But, CB, like, to me, what makes him special, and I'm happy that he had the season, the individual season that he had, you know, he wants to work. Like, he wants to get better. Like, he actually wants to work out. He wants to work on his craft. Like, he's a gym rat. Like, to me, he's a gym rat. From my experience with him, he was a gym rat. Always wanted to know what could he get better at. Even with individual film, what could he do to get better. Like, he wanted to get better, and that to me was what was really important, was finding someone that, again, goes back to hunger. Like, how hungry are you for this opportunity? How hungry are you? Because you're telling me that these are your goals. You want to make it to this league. You want to get overseas. You want to get paid six figures, whatever it is. Like, so I'm going to hold you to that standard. And during my time with him, obviously, in a long season, you have these ups and downs, but, I thought the most unique thing about him was how hard he wanted to work. And, just the fact that, we had such a great relationship, on and off the court. Like, we could talk about anything. We could talk about family, whatever it was, and he trusted me. And that to me was probably, the most special thing between him and I.
Oh, beautiful. And now two other players that's dominating the NBL1 East currently. Davo
Mm.
Hickey and Bawali Bowles. I saw a photo of you actually coaching them. I think back in 2020. Um,
Yeah.
I just want to talk to you about sort of because I saw the caption too. He said like them just wanting to work hard and their determination to kind of be
Mm.
successful is separate. You don't kind of see that with all the young players coming up these days. And these two boys had it, and they are special. I just want to talk about Davo Hickey for a second.
Mm.
Kind of cemented his spot in the NBL1 with Illawarra Hawks last year. What have you seen from his game and the growth of his game? Because you talk about it, the hustle, he has that. He has all those one percenters. How can he take his game to the next level?
Man, that's another guy that has that talent that you can't teach or coach. Like, he's got it. Like he has it. He has all the intangibles, all the tools, to be a great NBL player. I think it was just a matter of finding a situation where, he felt he could be a little bit more comfortable. Um, that I'd only had the opportunity to really, run a few sessions with him, but during that time, getting to know him, like he talked a lot about his culture and what that meant to him. And I think just finally finding the right situation to thrive in where, people cared about him and he knew that and they were willing to allow him to grow and develop within a role. I think that's key. And, that's what every young player I think goes through, especially when they first, become professionals is how do I cement myself, and get an opportunity over somebody that's more established. And, Davo, man, he's having that type of season, like damn near averaging a triple double
Mm,
and highly impressive. To me, I think, again, like you said, two special players. Like, I think him and Bawali, like, they got to be front runners, right now for MVP, just for the individual seasons that they've had.
yeah, 100%. I got Davo Hickey as my MVP, but if
Mm,
Bawali Bowles played all the games, I would have gave it to him 100% because you see the impact
mm,
that he has on his team. When he got injured, they struggled, went down the rankings, and he's come back and I think 7-1 record, averaging I think 103 points since his return. So yeah, just some
insane.
crazy numbers there. And I want to talk about Bawali Bowles' opportunity. Look, he's had a few cracks at the NBL. What does he need to do to kind of elevate his game to kind of solidify his role there?
Mm. Well, Bawali, like one thing I think people haven't seen with him is his work ethic. Like I couldn't believe like how much of a gym rat he was. Like, you talk about a guy that just every day relentlessly trying to get shots up or work at something, wants to get better at something. Um, like I was blown away by just his motor, like and that's that gear I was talking about earlier. Like not every player understands what gear they have to reach or they have to train or play at in order to take that next step to get to the next level. And he's got it. Like he's got that gear. Like he's 100% got that gear. And by the way, defensively, I would put him and Shea Illy right up there together. Like Shea Illy to me is like one of the best defensive guards, if not, sorry, the best defensive guard in the NBL. And I would say Buwali's like, damn near right there. Shea
Mm,
Illy's got more experience, but man, Buwali is an absolute dog defensively. And I just say again, to take that next step, it's really just going to come down to finding you know, the right opportunity where he has the right people around him, to continuously give him great advice, but mentor him, but also allow him to make some mistakes along the way for him to grow and mature. And again, having a great mentor is so important. Like having people that are willing to work with you on the day to day to give you, great feedback, great advice, not sugarcoat, tell you the truth, even if it hurts. Like that to me is that to me is so important. And I think if given the right opportunity, um, and I could see him really thriving in the NBL. He just needs that chance, to get back in and be a part of an environment that's professional. Not to say that the other situations weren't, but again, just a professional environment where he's got people that care about him and want to see him actually do well.
mm. Because I was looking at the ages, man, 22, 24, and 23
Oh,
for Alex Higgins Fisher, and they're still young, man. So, yeah, their sort of limit is, I don't think they've reached that potential yet. And I had a love of the game moment where in about 4 years, you're an NBL coach. A few of these guys are playing under your team, winning that chip. But nah, like I love the way you talk. And one thing that I wanted to mention also is I wanted to thank you personally, because I remember one of the games at Inner West Bulls. My wife just recently gave birth in April, so I think we are about like
Oh,
what 4 or 5 weeks into it. And I was sitting there at the game going, "But what am I doing here?" Like I just started getting into it, and
mm,
I didn't know exactly what I wanted to get out of it, if that made sense. Or because I'm a shy
yep,
person, so I didn't actually know exactly like what to do. I remember sitting at the corner going, man, like my baby's at home crying, like I should be there, sort of thing. And then I
yeah,
just talked to you, had a chat with you for about 10 minutes,
mm,
and I just want to thank you for that because that chat kind of helped me go, you know what, this is actually what I want to do because you kind of said, look, I actually see you, I see what you're doing, I love what you're doing, and just keep at it. And yeah, I just want to personally thank you for that because I was looking back at it before I was like going to interview you, and I was like, man, that moment was actually one of the key moments that actually made me go, you know what, I am going to do this because I was close to giving up at that moment too. So just want to say thank you.
damn, man, that's crazy. No, I appreciate that. No, like I mean, the fact that you were there, like the fact that you were there, told
Mm,
spoke volumes to me. I was like, oh yeah, this guy, he's chasing, like he's trying to build something right here. He's actually at the game, and he's looking to build his brand and build more awareness around sports, in Australia, and I love that. So for me, it's like I was damn near in your position, like
mm.
chasing, doing things for free, not getting paid for opportunities. So. Nah, man. I love the hustle, so absolutely.
Yeah, no, I just want to mention that because I don't know if that kind of like because it's those interactions where you kind of just give back without even thinking about it, and it kind of has
Yeah,
a
right.
roll-on effect to everyone else. So I just want to say thank you for that. Now we're going to talk about a bit of your coaching work.
Mm.
Recently, you did a coaching clinic for DNA basketball with Joel Adup over there. What's that program like, and how did you enjoy it? Because there was a beautiful video of you actually talking to these kids and saying, look, if you're actually here, man, I want you to give 100% because you don't know
Mm.
when your opportunity is going to be. So
Yeah.
if you're there, your parents are paying you their hard-earned money. So put in the work. What was that like, and how'd you enjoy it?
Man, I was grateful for that because, Chol, like I've known Chol a long time. I coached him in youth league. Um, was mentoring and working him through the college, his year of college when he was in Colorado. And, when he got back, I always told him that, like, I'm going to stay in your corner and I'm going to continue to work with you and help you try and get to the level you want to get to. And, whatever that was for him. And, you know, he reached out and said, oh, coach, I'd love for you to come to, to DNA basketball, check out what we do. And, I didn't really have an expectation for it, but I just said, you know what? You know, I'm happy to give back whatever it is that you want. If you want me to run them through a session, great. Absolutely. Let's do it. And I had a great time, man. Like those, like what I think people don't appreciate is, time. Like, giving your personal time and
Mm,
investment into others. That's such an underrated, like, I think, quality in people. And, you know, Chol, I think, he's doing some great things just as far as, wanting to develop that love for the game in these kids. Like these kids are all rocking up. There's like 20 of them,
mm,
and they're all from different, different neighborhoods, and they're all coming in. It's cold as hell in the gym, and they coming in and they're showing up, and they're listening to what Chol wants them to do. Chol's got their attention at all times, and I just love the fact that I got that opportunity to do something special like that with him because for me to see Chol want to give back and invest in kids, teaching them qualities that are important not just on the court but off the court, that was invaluable to me as well. So no, that was a fun time just giving back.
Now I got to hit you with the hard question off the bat. Then we're going to do our
Oh,
NBL1 East finals preview. You got the
okay,
Inner
let's
West
do it.
Bulls up against the Sydney Comets. Who you picking this game and why?
Oh, look, before I start, I already know people. Whatever team I say, I know people are going to use this as ammunition, and that's fine. I got no problem with it. But look, I think I got to give that to Inner West just from like a pure unbiased perspective. I've watched a lot of games of all the top eight teams over the last few weeks, just on my phone, and even just in person. And to me, I think for that first round matchup, the reason why I picked Inner West is because I think they have more versatility defensively. I think they can do a lot more. Essentially, and again, I don't think you're going to be able to stop Bawali, but I think you can find a way to slow him down and disrupt his rhythm. And depending on how, what type of game plan they have and, what they decide to do, I think Inner West has that opportunity to get that, that home win for the first round of the playoffs just because of that versatility defensively and, essentially be able to, overwhelm them with multiple schemes. So I think they got that opportunity.
Mm. Man, because this was my match of the round because I was looking at it and the Sydney Comets are on fire at the moment. The way they're playing
Yeah.
basketball is they're kind of probably the most informed team outside the Canberra Gunners heading into these playoffs.
Mm,
And it's their kind of other pieces. Like, as you said, you know what you're going to get from Bawali Bowles. But yeah, Aubrey Kai, Joel Oddip's been hitting, Anthony Mundine. I think Waiter got 23 points the last game too. So,
yep. Yep.
man, it's kind of like, do you trust those other Sydney Comets pieces to beat the Inner West Bulls? And that's why for me, I actually have the Sydney Comets. Their
Mm,
offensive kind of outburst in the past sort of 2 months has been something where you kind of got to take note that, look, they are keeping that consistent. And they're not even really doing it like Bawali Bowles. The thing I love about him is he doesn't shoot that many threes. He drives it in. And if the other guys like Chol, Anthony Mundine hit their threes, I have Sydney Comets winning this game.
I like that. I like that. That's a good analysis. But I think to your point as well, like Bawali, one part of his game that I actually feel he's developed is knowing when to be aggressive, but also knowing when to facilitate and play make and play off the ball. I think that's something that that's a level of growth I've seen in his game. And he's always willing to make the extra pass. He's kicking out, like he's looking to get his guys involved.
Mm.
So again, I won't say it lightly, and I think it'll be a great game this weekend. But again, the key matchups, I think, and you talked about Obi Shea, I think Alex Titcher, Obi Shea, you know, who wins that matchup?
Mm.
And I think what bodies can Inner West throw at Bawali Bales as far as being able to slow him down, be disruptive, not let him get a second consecutive possession where he has the ball in his hands and have opportunities to explore and create and score, um, and essentially stop the others from, being able to, make their impact. Like you said, Matty Wacher, Chol, Johnny Synagorix, like, can you limit them in the areas where they can be, essentially dangerous for that Sydney Comets team. So yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting matchup.
And I want to give a shout out to Nico. I think you mentioned before he's your boy sort of thing, but he got 18 points last game coming off the bench. And I love his hustle when he's on the court, man. He goes 100%. Even just watching him, you kind of just see the 1%ers that he does. And it was good to see him hit 18 points last game. So I just want to give him a shout out. All right, that was the first elimination game. The second one, you got the Bandits up against the Bankstown Bruins. Who do you have in this one?
I got Albury, just purely because it's not easy to win at Albury. It is not easy. The crowd, and just the environment. You got to. It's damn near, depending on where you're going from. It's damn near a 6 hour drive up.
Mm.
Like it's cold. Like it's not an easy place to play in. So I got Albury just because I think Davo's hungry to take that to take that next jump just as far as being able to lead a team. I think their length and athleticism is going to be the biggest difference between, and the pace that they play with is going to be the biggest difference between them and Bankstown. I think Bankstown have some good pieces, but I think they're still young and they still got a long way to go as far as growth and, building that continuity as a team, and for the foreseeable future. So, I've got Albury.
Yeah, I like the Bandits in that one. Especially, I need to give a shout out to the women's team, 20-0 season.
Oh,
And yeah, Lauren Jackson, they're playing again before I think the men's same day. So that crowd is going to be buzzing. So yeah, for that reason, with the 6 hour drive, yeah, I got the Bandits winning that one too.
yeah.
In the qualifying finals, you got Maitland up against the Manly Seagulls. Who's winning this one?
Well, man, by the way, shout out to Manly and Tim Hill because I think he's done a tremendous job, with that program. Like, from what it was in the last couple of years to now, I think he's done a great job of just turning it around and, creating great buy-in and great culture just within the program itself. And then, bringing in two imports that are willing to play their role and play their part, to make it more successful. But I've got Maitland just purely because their size and their athleticism, it's overwhelming on both ends of the floor. And you can just see the difference between them and the rest, I would say the rest of the league just because they've got continuity. They got X factor guys like Billy Parsons. Like he's second. I think he's second right behind Will Cranston in scoring for that team, and he's taken a huge leap in his development. Like I watched him play. I think it was when they played in a West at Auburn, and I was pleasantly just surprised that how much he's grown. Like he's no fear. He's willing to guard 1 through 5, rebounds the hell out of the ball. But I just feel like they're just going to overwhelm Manly just with their length, their size, their athleticism. And Cranston, I think he's hungry to take that next step. And just finally winning an NBL1 East championship. I think that's what he's. I think he's hungry for that. For that championship. So I got Maitland.
Yeah. I love what you said about Maitland, but also about Manly. When I watch Manly play, man, it's literally like the perfectly constructed team to maximize what they have on the floor.
Yeah.
You got Mason Bragg running the show, Jonas Harper doing his thing, and then Matthew Eldridge kind of just claiming the boards, and then their locals, they're all just doing their role. And yeah, it's working perfectly over there, Manly. But yeah, I got Maitland too strong. I'm going to talk a bit more about Maitland in a bit. And then next game, you got the Canberra Gunners up against the COE. Who do you have for that one?
Man, I got Canberra just purely because they're more experienced and they've got continuity and they've got the size and athleticism to actually be able to play with the COE. And with Canberra, they play a certain brand of basketball that separates themselves from the rest of the league, being able to play more at a slower pace where they want to run sets and be able to play through Morrison, Mayfield, use James Tui. Not I don't know if decoy is going to be the right word, but use them as a key part of their offense. To be able to generate potentially more open shots for others. Um, I think I've got them just purely because COE, as talented as they are, they've probably lost a lot of pieces, to
Mm.
college and the NBL, and I think they're quite young this season. So for me, I've got Canberra.
Oh, beautiful. And the love of the game, question of the day. I've got to ask you, if it does go to Canberra and Maitland grand final, who wins? Because
Man,
honestly, I believe in fate, and I feel like there's another chapter to this story. And if it does go like
okay,
that, who are you picking?
man, that is a tough question. That's a super tough question. Um, That's really tough. I know Peter Harrick really well, actually, from Canberra as well. Yeah, we've talked a lot about what his season's been about for him. But I mean, look, it's a great matchup. Um, if I had to choose one, if I had to put my money on it, I would have to say that it would have. I'm probably going to give the nod. Um, I'm probably going to give the nod actually to Canberra just because, and the only reason why I say that is because, the amount of preparation they put in and, just the certainty that everyone on in that team has as far as roles
Hmm.
and everyone understanding what they have to do to help the team win. I think it's just consistent and it's just and they've proven that time and time again in the last few years. They've got continuity, um, and I just feel like they've got all the pieces necessary, to actually be able to match up and make it tough for Maitland. So, it's I'm not going to say it's outright,
Hmm.
but I would say I'm probably going to give the nod to Canberra on this one. As much as I'd love to see Will Cranston win
Hmm.
one, I'm going to give it to Canberra on this one.
No, I actually respect that because, man, I was actually thinking about it for so long, like that question. Like, I know it might not happen, but when you kind of see their recent history, you kind of feel like there's one more to it. And I had to give it a Canberra too because I did my NBA analogy and I compared them to like Denver Nuggets. Just for
Oh,
everything you mentioned, like everyone knows their role, they have their system,
yeah,
they have that big man. And
yeah,
William Mayfield for me is the energy guy for that team. I know he wasn't there
yeah,
last year, but he's back this year. And
yeah.
with Maitland, I kind of just worry about that mental thing, man. Like that's tough. Like losing two in a
Mm.
row and then versing Canberra again. I know Canberra beat them the last time they played, also. So yeah, I love that matchup, and I know it's it's a bit of a shit go to say, but I'm actually hoping that's the grand final matchup.
Man, man, I tell you what, it'd be a great matchup to watch. It will be really fun to watch. Um, I'd love to see Will Cranston win one, man. I would. Like, I got a lot of respect for him. Like, I put a lot into finding ways to scheme, make the game tough for him. And when we lost to them last season, like, especially like he hadn't had the greatest game in the first 3 quarters, so we had executed elements of our game plan in the first like 2.5 to 3 quarters. But that fourth quarter, when he came out, when and he came alive and started hitting tough shots, step back threes, face up threes, hezzy pull ups, like
Mm.
to me it was like, oh man, like this, like like he's special, like he's got a special talent and he's got that killer as well. Like he's not afraid. Like he's got dog in him. Like I would love to see it. I would love to see it. But yeah, I still got Canberra, man. I still got Canberra.
Yeah, and that's the thing that makes this season so great. This is my first season really getting involved in the NBL1 East, and I just want to double check with you, man. How have you seen the growth since when you first started to where it is now? What's the growth been like, and what's the, I guess, the lofty standards this league can get to, like just the whole NBL1 in general?
Yeah, so in the NBL1 East, like the biggest growth I've seen is that the league's gotten better because most teams now have two imports or one import at the very least, and they're putting more money into the program, to build, to either bring players back, but also bring some quality talent in, and like when you bring in two imports, to each team, like and you got how many teams in the league? It's like what? It's
The
I think
16.
16 teams. Like, it's gonna make the league even tougher. And not to mention the NBL1 app. Like the app itself has done wonders, as far as coverage and also like, notoriety because, when you talk to like, coaches, GMs and, players across the world, and they all know what NBL1 is. They all know they're like, oh, NBL1, that's a good mid-tier,
Mm.
level league. Like, it's actually well respected. So just because the talent that plays in it, like you got guys that potentially played in the G League or D1 schools, or have had some level of experience in the overseas market, and then you got NBL, ex NBL or current NBL guys playing in the league too. So it makes the league even that much more fun to watch. So I think it's really taken a huge leap because of coverage, but also because each organization is now starting to see that in order for us to be competitive and in order for us to be more successful as a program, we're going to have to put more into it. So
Mm.
by bringing in imports and more quality local talent, or keeping more quality local talent around.
Mm. Beautiful. And also, I just want to, you were talking about William Cranston Lown and his sort of package that he has at the moment, man. He's got
Mm.
this alley dunk that he's been doing. So hats off to you. Look, Daniel, I just want to appreciate you for your time.